Hey there, welcome to today's episode of Entrepreneurship Simplified. I am your host, Keith Hedlund, and today is just a quick one by me, just kind of my thoughts on something I'm working through right now. I have Box Business Solutions where I help people start up businesses and kind of get them going from idea of, hey, I want to start a business all the way to launching the business, and then years into the business, still helping them with the day-to-day stuff, big questions that come up, coaching just in general. And, as I was going through it this morning, getting ready for kind of my part of things that I have to do today, I was thinking about like this huge list of all these things that have to get done. And the part of the reason why people don't start businesses is because, it's overwhelming. It's too much to think about. Like, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know, how to pull the trigger to get started. So, having somebody who can help you coach through that and kind of walk through those steps with you, I can see is very beneficial. And I've never really stepped back to think about it, but my wife and I have started several businesses. We've helped several other people start businesses and kind of walk through the entire process. And it doesn't seem overwhelming to me, but again, it's kind of one of these things. I think the very first time I did it, I had a little bit of help with an attorney setting up LLCs and stuff, had a little bit of help with some accounting stuff because I had an actual accountant set up books and stuff like that. But I was also just so young that I was probably naive to think that it was a lot easier than what it actually was when, especially opening up a liquor store in East Tennessee. It's very hard because just getting a license was a ton. Like you have to put notice out, you have to do all sorts of stuff. It's a crazy, I don't know if it still is, but 25 years ago it was. But I was naive back then to think, hey, this could actually be hard. This could be a lot of steps. So as I was going through that this morning, I'm like, man, this actually could be overwhelming to some people, because especially if you have like a full-time gig and you're trying to start a side gig, but you kind of want to get it up and going quickly and have it, not be a side gig for long. I mean, there's a whole lot of steps that have to go into getting everything ready for the business, let alone to actually start getting business coming in, right? So then that got me thinking just about the different coaching and consulting that I've done, but then also the other coaching and consulting that I've received. So I'm going to kind of tell on myself a little bit here, but like the very first time that I got some coaching, I can remember I was very, very resistant. Now, I was in my 20s at the time, thought I knew way more than I did, and also way more than most people around me, which again was extremely naive of me to think. And I can remember going into this coaching session thinking, I'm not going to learn anything. This is a complete waste of time, because I had a bunch of stuff going on that I had to get done. But I was told by the business owner at the time, he's like, hey, no, you need to do this. You got to do it. It's not an option. You have to do this. So, okay. I drive all the way to Atlanta to do this from Knoxville, and I had to be back the same day. It was a whole thing. And I can remember sitting there thinking, man, this is a waste of time. Like, what am I going to possibly get out of this? And then, fast forward, I leave probably 2.5 hours later. I was like, holy cow. Like, the amount of good that I got out of that was just exponential. And, it wasn't that it was somebody coaching me from a industry perspective. It was somebody coaching me just from a like leadership perspective. And, this is how, emotionally intelligent you need to be. And here's the things that you're saying that, aren't really helping. Like, because I remember I used to say, well, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do that. And his point to me was, you don't need to try to do it. Do it. You're in charge. You run the entire organization. If you're telling me that this is what has to happen in order for the next steps to take place and to have success, then make it happen. Don't try, do. And I can remember, like, there were a lot of things that came out of that I was just like, holy cow, like, this was super impactful. This was super important. I'm glad that I actually did this, even though I thought it was a waste of time. So fast forward, the next time I have a consultant coming in that is very industry specific, and I like the consultant, great guy, but I can remember going, man, this is like, I got to get a lot of work done this week. He's going to be here for like 3 days. It's going to impact operations a lot because he wants to talk to a lot of my people. And I can just remember going, man, this is going to be a headache. I don't know how this is going to go. And sitting down and talking to that guy and just my side of it, and him asking questions, and very quickly realizing where these questions were going, and just kind of being embarrassed about like, hey, I know what the answer should be, but I also know what the answer is. So let's just be honest and tell them what the actual answer is, because like I'm not going to get better if I'm not honest about this. And then I had to sit there with some of my employees as they also answered questions and just being like, holy cow, like how in the world can they possibly think that that is what we're supposed to be doing here? Like that's impossible for them to think that. We talk about this every single week. And then some of my employees I didn't sit with when they talked to them. But getting that report back and going through everything and just seeing like, hey, I know that this is what I expect to be happening, A, B, C, D, E. This is what I think is happening. This is what we all say is happening every week in our weekly meetings. This is what we say is happening every month in our monthly meetings. But then this is what's actually happening. It's not even the alphabet. I mean, it's a fish, it's a tree, it's D. Like it was all over the place. And that was, for me, it was very embarrassing because I thought, hey, I'm running a pretty tight ship here. I've got things pretty well buttoned up. Nothing's perfect, but I got things going in the right direction. And it was just eye opening to me to sit there and go, man, that was really uncomfortable. That was really embarrassing. But it was eye opening the fact that, like, hey, I thought that we were on the same page. And I was able to go back to my team completely disarmed and say, "Hey, like, so explain to me, why do you think that this is what we're supposed to be doing if this is what we talk about every week?" And just walking through that, and a lot of the other things that kind of bubbled to the surface were cultural things. I thought we had this kind of culture, and then some things came out about some mid-level managers that were very disturbing, and ultimately, um, had to make some decisions on that kind of stuff that further down the line, because that was the first step of learning some stuff. But it was just eye opening to sit there with a guy that was, consultant slash coach, and just go through that and be like, man, I thought I had it all together and I didn't have a clue. And again, this guy was industry specific, but the questions he was asking didn't even really need to be industry specific, because it was just so enlightening and so eye opening about several of the things that just weren't working in the organization like I thought they were. And then fast forward to me doing some coaching and consulting with my wife. And I can remember sitting down, and this is, I used to think this was a small business problem, but, the further I get in my career, I realize that big businesses don't necessarily have anything in better order. Things aren't working better. They just can throw more money at stuff. And their mistakes can be bigger because they can afford to like dig out of the bigger mistakes than what small businesses can, because they have more cash. But they have the same problems. In fact, a lot of times the problems are worse. But as a small business owner, and most of the people I talk to are small business owners, it's really, really important to understand that, hey, if you think you have a company culture, if you think that, you have everything going smoothly, getting somebody in to like talk to you and talk to your team is not necessarily a bad idea, because it can help take you to the next level. Like if you feel like you've stuck and things were going pretty good, but then it kind of plateaued, or things have started to try to trail off a little bit, it can be a good idea to get somebody in to coach or consult. Even if it's just somebody to talk to and say, hey, like I'm kind of stuck, like another business owner, even I'm kind of stuck. Here's what's going on. And, you have to be vulnerable, obviously, to tell the truth. And that can be kind of scary because you want everybody to think that you have everything together. At least I do. But being open and being honest and being vulnerable make it so that you can get help, that you can seek help and say, hey, look, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. And frankly, I'm to the point where I'm at least smart enough to realize I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. I don't ever want to be the smartest guy in every room I go into, because then who am I going to learn from? Who can I pick things up from? So taking that time to reach out to somebody that or even hire a coach or a consultant, can be extremely, extremely valuable. Going into businesses again as a coach and consultant, and talking to the owners and them saying, hey, this is our company culture. Everybody's in line with the company culture. That is one thing that we have absolutely no problems with. And then sitting down with their key employees and a few managers, and the very first thing I hear out of every single one of their mouths is, yeah, our company culture is terrible. Like they think that this is what's going on. We've tried to tell them that that's not what's going on, but they think that that's what it is. So we finally got to the point where we just stopped telling them because they stopped listening. And I can remember going back and having that conversation. It was a very tough conversation to have, but it's like, hey, like you guys pride yourself on your company culture, but it's a disaster. According to everybody I talked to, it's a disaster. So, that was a very eye-opening moment for them, where they had to step back and go, okay, What are we doing wrong? How can we make this better? And to their credit, they did. They put the hard work in. They took the constructive feedback and were able to kind of turn things around, and it helped get their business going forward again. Because what happened was they had a ton of, again, small business. There were probably 12 total people, and they manufactured stuff. And what happened was everybody was just getting disgruntled, and nobody was really going the extra mile. They were just doing exactly what they had to do to get by. But what it did is it made the company stagnant. It made it so they couldn't, kind of get to the next level and keep growing. So once they were able to kind of do that and flush all that out, they were able to re-engage employees. I think one or two of them decided to move on because they didn't want to. They knew that they didn't want to put the extra effort in. So they got some fresh blood in there, and then were able to reinvigorate everybody and get things moving in the right direction. And again, that wasn't because of me. It wasn't anything that my wife or I did. It was just, pointing out something that was very obvious, that anybody who had any business sense at all could have come in and just asked a few questions and got the ball rolling. So this is the way my mind works. It kind of just goes in circles. It started with, this coaching that I'm doing, trying to help somebody get a business set up, to, back to coaching I received that kind of helped me take my entire business career to the next level. And just the fact that you don't have to be afraid of coaching. You don't have to be afraid of a consultant. Is it uncomfortable? Yes. Do you have to be vulnerable and admit that you screwed up? Absolutely. But the benefit that comes out of that and it's not just in business, like the benefit that has come out of the coaching that I've got just in my life, in leadership, I think it's helped me be a better dad, because, ultimately you're leading your kids as well, right? And it's completely different in how you talk to them and, expectations. But the coaching and the feedback that I've got from people that in, the coaching type world have been exponentially helpful, both in business and in my private life, in making me a better person, making me a better leader. So don't be resistant to that. Lean into that. Join some mastermind groups where there's just other people that are in your industry that can kind of give you feedback and kind of lean into you and kind of hold you accountable and help you grow as a person, help you grow as a leader, help you grow as a business owner. Hire some coaches, hire some consultants, be smart about it. Don't just, there's everybody out on the internet right now says they're coaches. Everybody says they're a consultant. I get it. I get it. And I'm always, especially business coaches, I'm always really weary of the ones who've never actually owned a business. Definitely weary of the ones who've never even been a manager of a business and say that they're business coaches. But there's a lot of good ones out there. Ask around, ask for references, ask for referrals. It can really change things for you. It can help you take things to the next level. So if you get nothing out of this other than that, take away the fact that coaching and consulting, if you can receive that feedback, it can help make you a better leader, better business owner, better person. So that's all I've got for today. Hope that it was a little bit useful. If you have any questions about Box Business Solutions, us helping people set up new businesses, the coaching and consulting that we do, happy to talk to you about it. Not really trying to sell it so much as just say, hey, this is something that you likely need as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur. It's going to help you continue your entrepreneurship journey and help make you better. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Talk to you next time. All right, that's a wrap for today's episode. Your next step, take what you've learned today and put it into action. Now, if this episode gave you something to think about, do me a favor and leave a review, or share it with someone you think needs to hear it. And if you have any thoughts, let's continue this discussion. You can find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Let's simplify entrepreneurship together. We'll see you on the next one.